I don't believe there's any action on this necessary. We now have school board evaluation results in front of us. This is item 6J, and this is the first I've seen of it, so I have no idea what's in here, and I'd be real interested to see what we have.
That's probably just for the board. What did you give me, 10? She might have. Thank you.
Questions on one page. Oh, I see.
This is just the question.
There's three different
Ooh, I didn't get a clap.
sections of it. Well, there's three sections of answers. One section is blank questions.
Oh, you hang on. Okay, this is going to be interesting, but I don't know how we're going to share this publicly for audio purposes this evening. Just something we need to look over. So what did you give us, Phil? The questions themselves?
Right, and they were by group. So for example, I believe when Ms. Cross compiled the data and put this packet together, she indicated that no board member had completed the survey. So that's why on that first one, there were,
Were we supposed to?
I'm assu-
There's a section here directed to us.
Vincent, usually we get this in another format,
Yeah.
not on SurveyMonkey. I did get an email from Sue Cross, I think, some time ago, and when I looked for it yesterday, because I said, oh my goodness, evaluation of board members, I didn't find it, but I did receive one. But it is in a different format, so I think it threw us off.
I'm trying to remember, what did we do last year with
We
this?
had, we had from the policy, from the policies, we had these same questions, but there was something that was handed out to the board, for the board to fill out, and then turn into the
Self-evaluation.
board. You didn't have to label, you didn't put your name on it, you turned it into the chair, and the chair
Compile the
averaged
results.
the numbers and so forth,
Yeah, I remember
compiled the
doing
results.
that.
Yeah, so this was a little different, so some people might have overlooked that.
So of the other sections, there's an administrative, staff, and community response. The administrative numbers, looks like we had 3 or 4 people respond to that.
That's three.
3, exactly.
From which administrators?
Yeah. So there's lots of ties.
Staff evaluation of the school board, we had around 55, 58, depending on the choice of numbers.
You had 64 people log in, and then not everyone answered every question.
Yeah, clarification on that is not all the questions needed to be answered. Unlike some surveys that aren't very friendly, once you answer the question, they won't let you go on. There is a histogram for each question, and just at a quick glance, I don't see from the staff. Oh, wait, I was reading that upside down. I do see from the staff some poor ratings. Phil, we will post these results to the website?
yes.
Okay. So everyone will get a chance to review this stuff.
Mr. Migliori?
Yes.
Not having been here when you've done this in the past, but would it be appropriate to identify this as an agenda item for our next meeting? So when we have a chance, when you have a chance to look at this, you might want to be in a position where you could develop an action plan to address the results?
Yes, we could. Again, this is the first exposure to us to it,
Right.
so. Should probably look at this fairly carefully.
I think the reason you're just getting it now is because the results, they had to be completed, the end date was April 4th, I believe, so
Right.
that's why you're just getting it now, as opposed to in advance in your packet or electronically.
Right. And the community members segment, there were approximately 75, 77 responses, again,
82,
depending on
80 now?
how many questions were answered. Oh, it was upward to 83, a couple others.
How's the community asked? I know it was on my kids' parent-teacher newsletter, but is there any other way that the community was asked for input, or was it just parents primarily?
The survey was published on the website, and I don't know if there were efforts made to send a note home to anyone through the kids.
There was on my kids' newsletter. I just wonder if any non-parents were, how would they know to take it?
There was no ad taken in any paper or any, you know, I mean, it was not, it was on the website. I mean, anyone who visited the website
Okay.
would have seen it.
When we supposed to pick up ours? 9 years done. One of the 00 was not, I didn't know it was gonna pick them up tonight or something. Nothing on here tells you what to do with it.
What are you talking
He's
about?
got his
Survey.
question.
He filled
Oh,
out
your
the old
survey.
kind, yeah.
And there's nothing tells you where to bring it. I know it's bringing up the flow.
This came up as a timing item in March as part of our reminder calendar. And I certainly didn't have any time to go over it and deal with it in any other way other than suggesting to the administration that we do what we did last year. So it was done by SurveyMonkey. There just was not time to make any adjustments to it or to deal with it differently, so.
We've been a little busy. We've been a little busy.
Yeah, you know, root cause, I guess, is we've been busy. The reason for that in March, I think, had to deal with the Danbury notification, dealing with all that, preparing for tonight's meeting. It's been a busy year, so. Okay, school board evaluation results discussion. I guess at the suggestion of Dr. McCormick, we could take that item up at a future meeting after looking it over in detail. So we,
Do we need a motion to table?
well, at this point, we can, under action, decide whether we want to table it or, you know, what that detail should be.
Okay.
Is there further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we're at item 6K, approved dates for new, for graduation for the high school, 8th grade class night, and move-up day, last day of school for students and staff.
Mr. Migliori,
Yes.
I would ask that you pass over this item until I have a chance to finalize with the high school administration where they're at.
Okay, at the time of our action on this, I would entertain a motion to table at the request of Superintendent McCormick.
And may I also ask, when I looked at this initially, I guess I understood approval date for the graduation, but like move-up day, is that an informational item or is it indeed for approval? I wasn't quite sure, to be honest, but,
I think schedule-wise, it's something we have to approve based on what's happening schedule-wise. So,
I sort of agree with him, why do we?
just as a matter of what may conflict with the school calendar.
Well, what conflicts?
I'm not saying that we're in, I'm saying I just didn't understand what the intent was by seeing, you know, we put it on the agenda, and I understood, obviously, for the graduation, I'm assuming you also wanted baccalaureate. So there were some things you have on here, I didn't understand why you were asking, or designating it for approval as opposed for information. I guess I'm just asking for clarification to get dates for everything on that list. I mean, the other issue is, the last day of school is the last day of school. So why, I mean, you aren't gonna extend the school year by 3 days, you're only gonna go 100, so I didn't, it's so out of context for me, Mr. I just didn't know what.
Okay. It's an item for the April agenda,
Yeah,
and in the context of that, it was put on.
right, no, I understand.
So
Yeah,
what we'll have to do is clarify the need to continue to do that or not.
yeah, and we counted back the number of days, because seniors can alter their schedule after the 175th day. But I didn't get back, my error, I didn't get back to Mr. O'Malley to confirm if that coincided with his plans,
Yeah.
and that's what I need to do.
Okay, well, I think we need to deal with this expeditiously to get people to know all this information as soon as possible, so.
Oh, I agree.
Maybe
Mhm.
in the notes, maybe some was for approval and parts of it were for information.
I mean, I'll give all dates, I will track that down, but again, I just wanted to know, ask for clarification of your intent with that, and it will be available, because we do have another meeting, albeit P&D.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we can't conduct business at that meeting.
I understand, that
Special.
would be, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's not a P&D meeting, it's a special meeting, but
Oh, okay, right.
we reserve
Gotcha.
the right to conduct business
Yeah,
as
okay.
needed for just this sort of circumstance, if we
Okay.
need to get resolution on something, without convening yet another meeting.
Right.
Okay, we're now at 6L, which are field trips. Those are before you. I have a question on the calculus field trip.
I don't think she did a good job explaining why she's going. I think that I can speculate on this.
I could address that, because
Yeah.
I had the same question and
Yeah.
spoke
About
with
it being an overnight?
Oh,
Well, the whole thing. Okay.
Okay, if you don't mind.
No, just a little bit. The intent of this is to take the students and put them basically in a situation off campus where they're actually in study groups, preparing for the AP calculus exam. There will be, on the full day, a 3-hour mock test. This was grant-funded. I don't believe it had been done before, but I'm not sure about that. But they will be breaking into study groups, preparing for that exam. So it is a structured day.
It's only 10 students, though.
AP Calculus.
Because it's the advanced placement calculus. And is the board familiar with advanced placement classes?
In what respect? I mean, we're certainly aware that they're offered.
Okay, what they are, any history on that? I can give you a rough overview, or we could have the high school speak to it at a future meeting.
Have we done this trip in the past?
That's, I say, again, I don't think so, but I don't know that.
It's her first year teaching it, remember, because.
Oh,
Mr.
yes,
Andretti
yes.
studied.
Yes. I question the status of it being an overnight. It doesn't indicate that, but it shows.
It is.
It is an overnight. It
Yeah.
does indicate it, from the 14th at 11 a.m. to the 15th at 3 p.m. It's definitely overnight.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
Margate near us.
That's why it has to come. to
so
us.
Kids are living better than we are.
the fees and transportation costs cover the housing overnight?
Yeah, that's $1,200 for 10
Yeah.
kids, I would hope so.
Okay, well, that was kind of where I was coming from on that. 50-mile trip, transportation, $1,200, it didn't make sense. So, apparently that
They're
doesn't.
gonna eat good, sleep good, and party.
With calculators.
You can be chaperone, Paul.
These are high school kids, these aren't kindergartners.
They will be chaperoned.
Just has a question.
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Did you say this is grant funded?
Yes. That's the project promise. Yeah, it's.
Promising what?
Let's not go there, all right? I don't have any fun. Let them have fun.
Okay, any other questions on any of the field trips? The other field trips? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to suggest that this be put on the consent agenda. Any objection to it going on the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll put the field trips on the consent agenda. Okay, next item is item 6M, which is Bristol Elementary School roofing bid, discussion on 20-year versus 30-year warranty in the context of K through 8. Dan?
So we recently had a bid process for re-roofing a portion of the Bristol Elementary School. The original specification that was issued was for a type of a roof called coal tar pitch roof, which is preferred for durability and longevity and the fact that it's a flat roof. There was also an option for bidders to propose an alternate system, if you will, alternate methodology for roofing the building. The coal tar pitch bids all came in substantially higher than the amount that's budgeted for this project. We had 3 vendors propose alternate processes, membrane roofs. 2 of them are what are called mechanically fastened membranes, which I would strongly avoid. I would not advocate for at all. One was for a fully adhered membrane roof, EPDM roof, which is a roof that I would, if there were no other issues, I would simply make that award. However, typically when buying roofs, I find best practice would be to acquire a 30-year warranty. The amount that was, the bid amount, the base bid was for an 060 membrane, which would carry a 20-year warranty. They did provide a second alternate as well, which would be for an additional $13,000. They would go up to the 90 mil product, which carries within a 30, and there's additional processes as well, which goes to a 30-year warranty. So basically, for $13,000, we would increase the thickness of the membrane, some minor other procedures, and essentially increase the warranty on the new roof from 20-year to 30-year, and I just wanted the board's opinion on that.
At 30-year rate, is it out of budget, is that what you said?
It is slightly out of budget. I mean, we have $85,000 budgeted for the project. The base bid for the 20-year warranty is $77,900. So you add the $13,000 to make it a 30-year warranty. You take about $5,000 above the budget for the project. However, as I hope we'll have a chance to talk about in something that I mentioned in my report, but the document to support my report isn't with me, and I'm trying to pull it up. I think we do have some flexibility in the current year's budget where we could, if the board wanted to make the additional investment for the 30-year roof versus the 20-year roof, we could handle the expense.
And how does the vendor that provides the roofing look historically? Are they a long-term?
Yeah, I'll make two comments about that. Number one, the vendor has a very good track history, not in this district per se. They haven't done work in this district, but other districts they've done a significant amount of work for. This company called the Melanson Company. And the warranty comes from the manufacturer of the roofing system, not from the contractor, which is a company like a Firestone or a Carlisle, Syntec, or someone like that.
Okay. Jeff?
Having had experience with membrane roofs, what is the likelihood anyone is going to walk on this roof?
It's minor, because we don't have HVAC units and things like that up there. I mean, does it happen occasionally? Absolutely. Do we have preventive measures in place to prevent the general public from walking up there? Sure.
Right, but there's no regular maintenance reason
involved,
to go
correct.
out there, or...
Correct.
Well, along that line, do they ever have to shovel that roof?
It's never been shoveled in my tenure here, but that's not to say it's never been shoveled.
Right.
Good questions. Anyone else?
Does the 30-year warranty cover the same thing as the 20, just a longer period, or is it something?
Correct. They're both what I'll call M&L, or materials and labor warranties, as opposed to prorated. So if, the warranty period minus 1 week, if the roof fails, they come in and replace it, no matter what the cost is. It's not a prorated or depreciated value warranty.
They probably do a good job.
What was the difference? You said 85,000 for 20 years?
No, $77,900 for 20 years.
Okay, sorry.
$13,700 to add the additional 10 years.
Yeah, it's foolish not to go to 30 years.
And did you say the reason for not going with the coal tar?
Is price. The three bids for the coal tar pitch spec were $138,835, $141,930, and $126,847.
And what is there now? It's the coal tar?
No, it's what's called a ballasted membrane roof, which means you've got a membrane up there, but instead of being fully adhered to the insulation materials between the membrane and the deck, it's weighted down with rocks, which inherently causes failures, because whether people walk on it or the wind blows it around or the snow weighs on it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they use river stones typically in these ballasted membrane roofs, so they're smooth, they're not jagged cut rocks, or mined rocks, if you will, but it's still detrimental to the roofing membrane over time.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will leave that open
Oh,
as
could I
an
just-
action item.
Just have one more
Sue, you have
question.
another point?
Yeah, so what kind of a warranty do they offer on those roofs?
On the coal tar pitch,
Yeah.
30 year.
Oh,
Okay, no further,
But they typically last a lot longer than that, I will tell you that.
yeah.
is there no further discussion? Okay. Moving on to item 6N, surplus. Ann, you've submitted a motion. Care to speak to it?
It's fairly self-explanatory. I come to you a few times a year. I'm not the pack rat type. When we have things to move out, I like to move it out, keep it out early as possible. So this is my periodic requests for various items. Some come from the athletic department, some come from the, most typically, we're dealing with non-functioning IT equipment.
What's an oscilloscope?
An oscilloscope is, it's a device that is most frequently used in electrical engineering or electrical diagnosis, which provides a depiction of a wave of electrical current. That's a less technical, there's a better technical explanation in the room. I'm not an engineer.
Any further discussion on the surplus motion? Hearing none, I would like to suggest that this go on the consent agenda without objection. If there is none, hearing none, we'll put it on the consent agenda. Okay, we're now at item 6Z, other business. Does anyone have other business to bring before the board?
Mr.
Dr. McCormick.
I'd like to, because there may be some reaction to this, I was going to do it under an announcement, but I think it might be more appropriate under other business. I'd like to read an alert now message that I broadcast last week. Good afternoon, this is Philip McCormick, Superintendent of Schools for the Newfound Area School District. I'm calling to notify you that at my request, the Bristol Police Department, in cooperation with the New Hampshire State Police, conducted an unannounced lockdown at the Newfound Regional High School and Newfound Memorial Middle School today, Wednesday, April 3rd. The purpose of the lockdown was to conduct a search for drugs and/or illegal paraphernalia. This intent of this action was to ensure the maintenance of a safe environment in which teachers can teach and students can learn. The lockdown and subsequent search progressed very well and without incident, with everyone doing what was expected of them. I sincerely appreciate the cooperation of Chief Lewis, the Bristol Police Department, and the New Hampshire State Police as they work collaboratively with the Superintendent's Office and school administration to ensure the safety of those in our schools. If you have any questions, please contact Philip McCormick at 744-5555. And I would just like you to know a little bit of history on that. In the past, in districts where I've worked, it has taken me up to 3 months in order to make arrangements to have the drug dogs come. I spoke with Chief Lewis, and he made arrangements within a week. The search of the school interior and exterior here at the high school went quickly. More importantly, I think in one sense, is the timeliness with which the lockdown was completed. It was less than 30 seconds. Everyone was where they were supposed to be. Again, there were no incidents around that, which allowed them, the police, to then do the search of the respective areas. It was positive in that it went without any major glitches. I would tell you that there was one case where some drugs were found. The administration handled that appropriately and according to policy. Feedback I received from community members as well as staff was extremely positive, and again, it wouldn't have been possible without the help and the follow-through of Chief Lewis. I think we actually had 5 dogs here, which was phenomenal. So I'd certainly entertain any questions. Did board members get the alert now? Are you all signed up for the alert now?
I got it. I got it twice, probably parent and board member.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because I'm not, I know in the past, Mr. Migliore, you've had almost like a technical problem, so I'm not even sure if you got the message.
I did get it.
Yeah.
I am signed up for alert now, and I do get them now.
Okay, okay.
Technical problem seems to have been resolved.
So I'd answer any questions, or?
I understand you got some excellent feedback from members of the public on carrying out the activity.
Yes, I did, both on the phone and email. And one I thought was pretty cool, and I'll quote it. "No name, no number, the lockdown was a terrific idea. End of message. That's all the person had to say, but I thought that was, it didn't sound like someone who might have necessarily have children in the school, but a community member who thought that it was something that ought to be done, so. And if I may, I don't know if the chief has any comments, if you'd
Chief?
entertain any comment from.
I would just like to say that to walk into a building as we did unannounced, right plumb during the middle of classes, not only at the high school, but the middle school, but as a school board, I want to publicly say that I commend the staff at both schools as well as the students. Really, the kids that go to this school district are an excellent group of young adults, as well as the younger kids in the 6th and 7th grade class. The staff was phenomenal. The administrative staff did ask questions, immediately knew their role, and the support staff in the respective classrooms, it went better than I could ever imagine. According to my watch, it was 18 seconds that the team moved in at the high school. There was about a little greater number at the middle school, and we were conducting not only the drug search, but we were conducting a administrative review of just how quickly a lockdown should, not a drug activity, but another emergency take place. And everything that is put in place, you can talk about it for months and years, but until you actually do it is when you can see whether or not it's working. And I feel extremely comfortable to say that if we do have an emergency in either one of these buildings, that the administrative staff is first and foremost more than willing to handle it, but also prepared. And particularly, I want to say thank you to all the students, because they're obviously the heart and soul of the school system, and they got an A+ if I was to put a grade out there.
Great, thank you very much. Jack?
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
I was wondering if I could speak on it as being someone here during the lockdown, if that would be okay, or if you'd rather I wait for a public.
I don't see why that would be a problem. Fred, go ahead.
Now, we've had lockdown drills, and usually they'll last 10, 15 minutes. This drill, until people started hearing the dogs, was, as far as everybody was concerned, after the length of period of time where we had no idea what was going on, became a real drill, because we did not know what was going on. And I really, want everyone to know that, the response from the kids was incredible, because they didn't know. Staff didn't know what was going on. So we weren't alerted that there was going to be a drug, we were locked in for quite a while. And, there were, quite a few stories told of things that were going on in classrooms, about what people were experiencing. And, one of the things was that this probably will be such a deterrent for kids to bring drugs into the school, because, it happened, this actually happened. So it was, I really commend everybody who, thought this up, and it was a rewarding experience.
Thank you for that. And thank you, Dr. McCormick, for moving forward on it. Dan, did you have a point?
Not about that, just if we're still on other.
We are. We're actually at item Z, which is other business. Do you have other business?
Well, I have to apologize, because the document that I intended to hand out tonight is not available to hand out to you. But if you wanted to hear about it, I alluded to in my report, my monthly report to you. Item 10 Dr. McCormick had asked me to put together some information relative to the potential for some increased security enhancements to our facilities. And I don't know how much, if you want to put it off when I can provide you the details of that, I can summarize for you if you'd like and let Dr. McCormick speak to the rationale. However you'd like. I apologize that I don't have the document that I alluded to in my report in front of you now. I'm having trouble.
Are you asking for action? It says, Dr. McCormick and I would like to present an option for you at the April 8th meeting relative to enhanced video surveillance in our facilities through the use of a portion of the unexpended funds from the current budget.
Yes, that's the item I'm referring to. So, would you like me to speak to it without the document that I was going to put in front of you, or would you like me to just put it off till next month?
I think we should hear about it.
Okay.
If it's for public safety, student safety, I don't see any reason to delay it.
So, essentially, as you're probably aware, we have something called an access control system in all our buildings, but in this building, we have an enhanced access control whereby people with credentials, or a fob, if you will, a little device, can gain access through the building without being buzzed in, and everyone else has to be buzzed in through video surveillance. So the two features that we were contemplating would be to, number one, to add that type of access control device to the buildings that don't have it, which is 4 of our buildings, the middle school and the 3 elementaries other than Bridgewater Hebron Village School. The second facet would be to add all buildings have a security camera at their front entrance. We were proposing adding a number of cameras to the other buildings and this building as well, as many as 16 cameras in this building and the middle school, 12 each at Bristol Elementary School, and 8 at the other 3 elementary schools. The total project had once again, speaking from memory, we were seeking to spend approximately $60,000 on the project. At this time, I'm expecting, I think, my current projection is that we've got a little over $400,000 that if nothing else unusual happened for the last 3 months of the school year, 2.5 months where we are now, we would end up with about a little over $400,000 as a fund balance.
It's good that that number is going down this year. Jeff?
The cameras that you're proposing, are they color with audio and with DVR?
They are absolutely DVR. They are not color. They are a fairly, I'm not going to say high definition, but they're fairly high resolution. They would be on the same type of DVR that we have now, which is a 7-day, 24-hour loop. So, and they're digital and they're web capable, if you will, so that if, for example, we were to grant credentials to, say, Chief Lewis and his staff, and they were to be in proximity of the building and have network, maybe a laptop in their cruiser with network access either through, less likely from our network, more likely through a 3G or 4G connection in their cruiser, they would be able to dial in, log in, if you will, and gain access to the video stream from any camera in particular.
So that would certainly enhance things.
I think I'd like, because I don't have particular experience with high levels of video surveillance in a school environment, I think Dr. McCormick could probably speak much more effectively than I can to the subject.
I've been in 2 other districts in the last 20 years, I guess, 20-plus years. In both districts, we installed cameras in buildings and in parking areas. It's significantly, practically to nil, vandalism and theft, because, for example, you'd put them in your high-traffic areas where you can see what's going on. We've had situations where We have caught on camera in an elementary school, students vandalizing the exterior of a building, and we're able to bring it to closure within a day. I think it really does enhance the security within the buildings. I've seen it time and time again. Once kids know that the video is there, things just don't happen.
It's a great deterrent.
And that, Mr. Ryan, that is the intent, is a deterrent. I mean, if someone knows that they're on camera, the likelihood of coming in here, for example, and trying to either steal or damage a computer is significantly less.
So, Jeff?
The reason I asked about the audio is because I have experience with 2 other districts installing cameras with audio, and the audio has proved invaluable to them in curbing bullying incidents. Because not only can you see what happens, but you can hear what's said and see who said it, and it's a huge deterrent.
Do you have detail available that
Yeah.
was pertinent to us? That
Well, my detail that I wanted to put in front of you was the cost for each building and the number of cameras for each building and the cost specifically. And I apologize for not having that handy. Like I said, I'm having some computer problems. But that being said, the detail was specifically in the number per building. But I've given you an approximate.
Okay, is it, I mean, we've relied on your discretion in the past in giving you some leeway here. Incorporating Jeff's concerns with respect to audio, is there, I didn't quite catch the specification.
My specifications, I was clear that the budgetary numbers that I've developed do not include any sort of audio. It's just video and access.
So we would need to probably...
If you wanted to get involved in audio, that's another, I think that's a whole nother ball of wax, which I certainly let Dr. McCormick speak to. I will, before you start, Phil, I will say that when we, if I may just finish this one thought, when we revisited our video surveillance with buses, on our buses, about 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and those are audio capable, there was a huge amount of discussion and investigation of the legal aspects because of New Hampshire has some very specific wiretapping and audio surveillance laws.
Yeah.
And we were able to get through that through policy and other, I think there might be special provisions within that legislation to exempt busing possibly, so, maybe some other school districts are doing it, I don't know, but that's all I wanted to say about that.
Chief?
I had the pleasure of going down several months ago to Connecticut and conducted a 5-day training on the after-action report with the 3 commanders that handled the Sandy Hook crisis. And there's 2 things that are coming out after 20-year, 10-year studies, and now with the latest with the Aurora and the Sandy Hook incident, is that school systems, video surveillance, wireless surveillance, and immediate capabilities of law enforcement and the school administration to streamline all of that video as well as all of their two-way radio communications has been critical in every aspect of that. Some of the simplest things of having access to doors versus having to breach a door in a school system makes all the difference in the world. We experienced that in the training that I just spoke about the drug surveillance, of being able to have radio communication immediately with school administration. You don't think that it's a big deal when you're in a school to say, I need to run 550 yards, take a left, go down the hallway and speak to the school administration versus immediately going on the radio. Some of what came out of the Sandy Hook incident in that after-action report is that there was a video surveillance system within that school system, and some intel that came out of that is that there was a shotgun round that was racked. And for those of you that don't know what that means, is that one of the first SWAT team members that went into that building had wanted to make sure that there was actually a round up in the chamber of the respective firearm that he was holding. There was in fact one, so when you actually pumped that action of that firearm, it discharged that round that was already in the chamber onto the floor. The only individual involved in that shooting was not carrying a shotgun at the time. But there was a round placed on the floor. So there was valuable minutes wasted by law enforcement thinking that there was another individual in that building attempting to harm individuals because of that shotgun round. Had they had the capability that school administration here is proposing to streamline, the law enforcement would have been immediately been able to review that video surveillance and observe that incident, which would have created a far less tragic event as far as the SWAT team entering that building. Just this year, we've coordinated with Superintendent and Dan regarding the use of old police department radios that we've issued to the school, which have proven invaluable. This type of new millennium thinking for safety for the big event is critical coming out in action, after action reports. And as Dr. McCormick had stated, the immediate result you're going to see, thefts, assaults, bullying incidents, things of that nature are going to go down. It's very similar to in the early 2000s when police cruisers all had video and audio recording devices put in the drastic decline in disputes between a physical altercation where there's video and audio accompanying it. To speak on behalf of the audio portion in the state of New Hampshire, you do have to advise individuals if you are audio recording them, and they have the right to ask you to stop that recording at any time. So certainly I would offer to seek your own counsel on a policy to set forth if in fact you were going to seek an audio system.
In Interlakes, and most recently, I was advised by council not to go that route because of the entangling complications. I don't know how the districts you're familiar with have handled that. I'd like to know who they, then I'll talk with them about it. But the most recent experience I've had, which is now probably 3 or 4 years old, was, what's the intent? And our intent was to give visual representation of what was going on so that people could react to it. So I'm just more reserved with the audio piece, but would not want the discussion around audio to block where we would want to go forward with respect to getting the video in here, because I think I have seen that make a substantial difference.
Jeff, this presents an action item issue for us. It would probably not be prudent of us to delay action on this. We don't have the report, the dollar cost, the detail, but depends on what the board wants to do here. I remember the discussion regarding the audio on bus, and it's one of those complicating things within which we have to deal. That said, the advantage you talk about, I'm just wondering how it was those districts were allowed to do that.
I don't know what their basis was, but, and one of them may not have gone audio, but Winnisquam definitely has audio.
Yeah. Where'd Dan go?
I don't know, he ran away.
Sorry. I'm trying to get the document out the computer over here, finally logged into my account, so if you give me about 10, 15 seconds, I'm going to see if I can pull this up.
Okay.
I certainly wouldn't want to delay anything
No.
over the small.
Well, it might be, it might not be insignificant. What's of more importance, I think, is the fact that we're addressing a safety issue that I don't think you can put a dollar value on, so.
Well, on those lines, when he brings it back, if we're talking detail, I don't think we should be talking about where specifically they're going.
Oh, no.
So I don't want to know
We can move
publicly how
forward
many
with
per
the video.
building, because I don't want the public to know that.
No. And
Well, to that extent, how do you deal with the issue of disabling the cameras from the outside if there's an intent to do so? I mean, that's a reality,
Yeah.
right?
what I would tell you, and I think the board's probably aware, discussing safety procedures such as this is a legitimate reason to go into non-public session. If the board felt that it wanted to get into a more detailed discussion of security video. But Ruby, I concur with what you're saying, that if we get into depth as to, where would they be, or that type of thing. I mean, while we're waiting on Dan, I had a situation in 950 pupil middle school. There was a police activity on a Saturday early evening where they were doing fundraising. The community came in, and one middle school age youngster was caught on camera with a spray paint can up trying to spray the camera. We had the picture, the kid, you're looking right at his face. So obviously he didn't get away with that, but, so nothing's foolproof, but that one was.
You got cruisers all equipped now to tune in on this stuff, or what? Do we need to have anything for the cruisers, or what?
We do not have the device in the cruiser to streamline in at this time. No, that would be something that we would have to purchase.
So how many cruisers would you want to equip?
5, we have 5 police cruisers.
5 of them you want. Any idea what it will cost to equip them?
I do have that cost. It's $1,129
A cruiser?
per cruiser.
So, that's not bad.
The other thing, I would guess, if there were an incident here at the school, if an incident command center was set up, for example, in the office area, we could access that right from the office.
Correct.
So that, it'd be helpful also.
I apologize, I'm not able to get the document pulled up because this is in the whole building, so.
Okay,
I don't have the
well-
document. I can't put the document in front of you right now.
This presents an interesting challenge to us because, given the fact that this is a safety issue, is something of utmost concern to me personally, and probably the rest of the board, I think that we should defer to some of your discretion that we've relied on in the past. However, I don't know what the rest of the board feels like on this. And if we were going to arbitrarily add audio, that would be one thing, but with knowledge of the experience that it may conflict, without excluding the possibility of doing so, perhaps you can investigate that as well, and also determine what the cost might be
I can work on understanding that.
to add that. Now, it's an interesting challenge for us because we really can't legally take up the matter other than at a formal meeting, which is next scheduled for April 29th. So I'm in a bit of a dither here as to what to recommend. Jeff?
The only other thing I want to bring up is having experience dealing with closed circuit equipment, selling it and installing it. I would say get the highest quality camera with the highest resolution you can, because I see more and more cases, and the DVR system, I see more and more cases where my clients have an incident and they get video and the quality of the video isn't good enough to get a conviction.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I'll just share some background information. 99% of the security work that's been done in the district since I've been here has been with the same vendor, 123. And he's done the work at Plymouth Regional High School, for example. He's got, I think, 45 cameras going on at Plymouth Regional High School, and that he's cognizant of the fact that, for example, the cameras they have on the exterior of the building can pan, rotate, and zoom, and they can read license plates on the cars in the parking lot, which is a decent distance away. So he's cognizant of the issues of resolution, quality, et cetera, and he's who I've been working with to develop. For an acquisition of the size, we'd go out to bid, of course, with detailed specifications of resolution and things like that. But in terms of determining the budgetary estimates, Bob has been very helpful in that regard.
And Bob does good work, but he also works to bid spec.
Yep.
And he's installed some of the installations that I'm talking about. So I would rather that we ponied up the money and got the good stuff, as opposed to saying just, yeah, we want this camera.
How much is it, I mean, how much of a problem is it to add the sound after?
I have no idea.
We can get the stuff going on the road, you know, get it going.
I honestly have no idea, Lloyd. I just don't know.
No idea how much more it is.
I wouldn't choose to speculate.
Well, if we could find out if it could be added without any big deal afterwards, we can get the show on the road and get something in here, you know.
I can ask the question and report back to you at your meeting on the 29th.
This is the time of year that things happen.
Well, 1 second, Sue. When we take this up as item 6Z2, we're going to have to come up with a creative way to deal with this, perhaps at our April 29th meeting. You have a point?
Well, I know that you don't have the capability yet to access this type of thing from outside. Maybe it would be a while, but if we had some kind of a big emergency here, would others respond who would have that capability, such as state police or anything?
No,
Neighboring
ma'am.
towns? So nobody else has that either, then New Hampton or anyone?
Meredith Police Department
Meredith
has the
does,
ability
yeah.
to access Meredith school systems.
Really? Well, because they have the password, is that what you mean?
Correct. They have the credentials and the
Right.
equipment to do it.
And they're 20 minutes away, or,
But they wouldn't have access to ours.
Let me,
no, not unless we allowed that.
if the system has web access, any web browser, including a smartphone, can access the system.
I agree with you.
So it's, you know, I can log in and check out, you know,
That's
if
if I
they have
give
the
you
pub
credentials.
tonight.
Right.
If you have a
That's a good
connection,
idea.
yes.
That's why you're very cautious about who you provide credentials to.
Yeah. Understood, Mimi.
Well, so if you had that in your police vehicles, you'd be able to access, say, if you had a computer,
Correct.
and Bristol doesn't have computers?
We do not.
Sorry, Mike, I should have brought this up before the select board left. So, Janice, yeah, that's true. Sorry, Don.
Further discussion on item 6Z2 at this point?
I don't know that audio is worth it because of the legal risk of running the audio. Is it possible for us to authorize them to proceed with this and give them a limit?
Well, that's what's going to be a creative challenge to it when we get to action items.
Go get one vote.
Any other discussion on this?
Yeah.
Phil, did you have a point, Lloyd?
Well, I didn't know if we can get like the high school done and see, you know, then the people know what it is, we can see what it is, we know what we're talking about.
That's absolutely a possibility, but I would suggest you're going to run out of time to do the other towns. One of the reasons we're coming to you is because we think we're confident we're going to have a certain amount of surplus this year. So we'd be paying for it out of existing year's funds, rather than those funds just going into the surplus.
As soon as we can.
Well, at this juncture, there's a couple of questions with respect to whether we can do audio or not. I think we probably know what the answer is going to be there conservatively. But be that as it may, if it improves the results, then maybe it's something we should consider. And then in order to do that, we need to know what the additional specifications and expense would be to do so, which we can't just arbitrarily determine that this evening. So I'm looking at coming up with something in the form of a solid proposal that has an answer to all these questions, probably not later than April 29th. So, Sue, did you have a point?
Yeah, if I can remember it. Oh, does this, does this include outside cameras as well as inside? I think that's probably safe to, I mean, I know we already have some outside.
Yeah, I would suggest to you that the locations of the cameras haven't been fine-tuned,
Yeah.
but that would definitely be one of our contemplations. For example, probably the most costly of the, if you were to choose one single camera that might be the most costly installation, there's a strong, strong desire to get some video surveillance on what's referred to as the student parking lot at this building. And that will require some extensive electrical wiring and stuff like that, but that is the single greatest need perceived at this building because of the incidence of issues occurring.
Yep.
So we would work with these buildings administration to determine a set of priorities within a confined financial scope.
Okay, without continuing further on this topic, I don't want to limit discussion on it, but we'll have to come up with an action. Is there any other business?
I want to ask Jeff, did the science fair happen? Because I didn't see it on upcoming dates.
It's April 18th.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
We're not there yet.
It wasn't on the middle school report, so I thought maybe I missed it.
No other business? All right, hearing none, we're now at item 7, which is school board minutes for approval for the meeting of April 1st. Again, this evening, we did some things out of sequence for purposes of accommodating those attendees early on. So you have before you the minutes in blue of the April 1st meeting of the school board before you. Are there any corrections or additions? Okay,
I think I have one.
you do have one.
Yeah.
Okay, Sue, April 1st.
Let's make sure I've got the right one. Yeah, looking on page 3, where it says number 1, down towards the bottom. Yeah. Well, I thought that we voted on the amendment. Well, yes, we voted on the amendment before we voted on the final article. But it looks a little out of order there.
Well, that by definition requires some knowledge of the rules of order that we use. And it's kind of like trying to fit 40 pounds of potatoes in a 30-pound bag here. To amend a motion on the floor can only happen after the motion is made. So sequentially, the motion is made, and the motion action is indicated below it, which probably should be the last thing that we voted on. But just the way we set up the blocks, it's just an anomaly administratively as to how we do this. The motion was amended, the motion was noted as being amended, and the vote for the amendment was recorded correctly. Then you go back and deal with the motion itself, and the motion itself is defeated.
I thought it might be that, so you didn't have to write the same information twice.
Yeah,
really, pretty
it
much.
becomes a little cumbersome to
Okay.
try to do this in the proper sequence in terms of how you would read it. Any other corrections or additions, Jeff?
Just the one that I pointed out on page 6. Yuri was not at the meeting, and I was.
Yes, and so we did make a change to that form, but on the record, we need to change Yuri Hajak's name on the non-public form to Jeff Levesque. One other thing I'd like to say about the message of the minutes, the non-public minutes, shows that the board is interested in paying its employees approaching market rates, if not at the midpoint, approaching those ranges, which is I think, a significant philosophical decision on the part of the board. Are there other comments on the minutes as they are amended?
Just the first, right?
This is just April 1st that we're dealing with. Okay. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Lloyd. All those aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 6 in favor, no abstentions, 1 excused. Okay, approved as amended. You got the amendment, right, Leah?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, the next set of minutes is for the deliberative session, and I have a copy of this document in its amendable form as a Word document, not a PDF. And I see that there's some work required on it, and I have not been able to get to it. It's a little voluminous. It's another one of those things that we just didn't, or I didn't get to. I know I have some corrections, and I just don't have them with me. So if the board would be inclined, I would entertain a motion to table the minutes of the deliberative session, unless there's a whole series of corrections that each of you have done. I would like to make those changes, provide them digitally, and then have them scrubbed, and then maybe go through them again at another meeting. So Paul motions to table the minutes for the deliberative session. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Sue. Tabling motion is not debatable. All those in favor to table the deliberative session minutes, please say so by indicating by aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain.
Okay. 1 abstention, which would be Groton.
I wasn't there.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay. We'll say 5 yes, 0 no, 1 excused. Table deliberative session minutes, which implies that we have to get to them at a subsequent date. I hope I remember. Okay, we are now at item 8, other minutes in the packet, which are green.
Yes.
I have a question on these.
Yes, same here.
Ruby.
My question is, I'm supposed to be on the Professional Development Council. No one has ever told me that they're meeting. So, I don't know if I've ever seen minutes from them either.
Well, one of the questions I had on the format of these minutes is, where was the meeting held, who attended, who prepared the minutes, and were there prior meeting minutes that were accurate and approved or as amended for correction?
I should clarify. I get emails from Ann about what they've done, but I don't know that I've ever been given a time and place until this.
Yeah.
Have we got a written?
Well, there's a lot of things that slip through the cracks. This is a challenging role for each of us, believe me, in a whole lot of ways.
You sure?
Phil, if I could ask,
Professional.
I would suggest to you, if I may, and my boss might disagree with me, and that'd be more proof that he's better than me.
Council.
Okay. Yeah, I'm questioning whether this is a council or a committee, not a committee of the school board, just a
Right.
committee of educators.
right, I understand.
Not that, I know you're an educator, we don't take that the wrong way, but.
No, that's okay.
I understand your point, and that's valid, and I thought about that. But anything that's put in the board packet, I would like to be thoroughly vetted in terms of what it means. There's nothing on here that says who was at this meeting, who made these changes, where it took place, who prepared the minutes for us to go to and question it. And for that reason, I would like to ask that the superintendent take this back and just have it updated with at least that information. And then add to that the fact that Ruby was unaware of this meeting, and she is an official member of the council, which is a tool of the superintendent.
And perhaps it's just that it's always just been advisory before, but, you know, I had emailed with you a little bit and talked to Phil about an idea I had for some professional development. I don't know if that should have been.
Yeah, I have nothing to do with this group.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
they're ready.
Well, with those comments, I think the extra minutes should be fixed. Professional Development Council minutes.
I agree with fixing them. I would rather you not say, I haven't heard from them, because I have. I just assumed we all got a copy of.
But were you invited to the meeting?
Like an express invitation? No, so I just thought they were informative. Like I said, maybe that's the way it always worked.
But, I mean, they need to be fixed. So. Any other comments on other items or minutes in the packet for reference? Okay, that brings us to item 9, which is other correspondence that's in the packet. And other matters, which is purple stuff. And these are presumed to have been read by the board in advance. So unless we want to make a point to emphasize anything, like, for example, as I do, on Planetarium Day at BH, Bridgewater Hebron Village School on Thursday, April 18th, which I think is a pretty cool idea.
I'd like to see that.
I think it's being done at BES as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think I saw that. I think it's the
Saw
same
that.
day.
I saw that it was
No, it's under
done.
assembly. No, that's the same.
Okay.
And Danbury.
That's pretty
Oh, no.
creative. That's nice to hear. Does anyone else have comments on reports?
There were so many things going on in the schools. I don't, a lot of people don't realize, you know, New Hampton Community School, Destination Imagination. The group of fifth graders placed first and are now off to the state competition. Wednesday, March 30th, the PTO held a Kids Expo. Families were invited to come in and walk around the multi-purpose room and see demonstrations that were put on by the kids. Lego creations, volcanoes, paintings, drawings, cupcakes, candies, ski video, a lot of things going on. There were some other things and the planetarium was big on my list. I'd like to go and see that. I'm going to try to do that. Let me see, Career Day at Bridgewater Hebron. Let's see, Pennies for Patients at the middle school. They participated in Pennies for Patients, collecting $246.58 to benefit, in coins, to benefit the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. There's college planning. College is possible at the middle school. That's a great time to give the children all the information you can, so that by the time they get into high school, they kind of know what they should be doing to plan ahead for college and take the right courses and things like that. New Hampshire Band Directors Association, Alex Dostey participated in the middle level honors trumpet choir, along with, that's only 12 people, so I assume you have to be fairly good to get into that. What else? Math League, Megan Levine won the award for being the highest scoring senior in the league. This is the Lakes Region Math League.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And this is from the high school report. Jake Dearborn, the first Newfound Regional High School student athlete ever selected to participate in the 60th annual New Hampshire-Vermont Maple Sugar Shrine football game at Dartmouth College. That's another. So, I hate to ramble on, but I really think that people need to know about the good stuff.
I agree. A couple of those are going to be recognition items as upcoming meeting.
Good, good.
Any other comments, Jeff?
Just like to say that I, in the past few weeks, have attended a number of these public functions, and while some of them were widely attended by parents and the public, I think some of them could have received a little more parental involvement. And the people who didn't show up to these events really missed some good stuff.
One of our goals was to increase parental involvement somehow, and at least a thought, I guess, I shouldn't call it a goal yet. But we targeted the last survey to the staff to get creative on how to go about improving parental involvement, because it leads to greater success, particularly in the elementary environment. Or at least research tells us that. I agree. Okay, if there are no other comments on any of the reports, that brings us to item 10, which is public comment for items on the agenda only. Thank you all for staying through this.
Oh, sorry, just jabby there.
I'd like to recognize Janet Cody.
And Cody Bristol. I just have one question in regard to the alert system that you're using in terms of who actually gets that. Do they have to sign up for it if they're not a parent, not a community member involved with the school system?
Yes.
Is there a way that that could be communicated out there? Because I had several people that contacted me that didn't get the alert.
It's not meant to be a community-wide, we're not a I mean, that would be the decision of the school board, whether or not they want to have people who aren't part of our organization, if you will.
Do we have policy
It's
on
a
that?
policy decision
Yes.
in that case?
There is policy on it?
I don't believe there's policy on it.
But
But if it's going to be discussed in the policy committee, I'll attend that meeting.
Yeah.
Phil?
The other issue is, they might get phone calls at like 10 minutes to 5 in the morning saying that, you know, hearing my voice, wake up now, I want you to know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's as good as an alarm clock, you know. But Dan is correct. I mean, the intent is basically for an emergency type of situation. And the reason I used it for the alert now is because I expected that when the youngsters got home and said there were 6 or 7 police cars in our driveway, the parents might be wondering what the heck is going on. So I tried to do that as a preemptive way of getting, you know, information out there to the parents of kids who and some have not signed up for it because they, quite honestly, they don't want that 5 o'clock phone call, if you can imagine.
Anyone else have any public comment on items on the agenda? Neil?
Yes, I'd like to go back to your discussion regarding the installation of CCTV and should it be audio, shouldn't it be audio. I think Lloyd highlighted an idea, and I don't think he got enough traction. I'd like to, if you don't mind, reiterate it, is possibly ask Dan to get the pricing options of video, audio, and video that can be upgraded with an audio component that would allow you to move forward with the public safety aspect of getting the cameras in ASAP. And then once all the questions regarding the legality of audio and where can audio be and where can't it be, how can it be used, how can't it be used, then have a view to upgrading the cameras with, or some or all, with that component. So that was my only observation on that.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. In the computer business, we call that modularity. Being able to add functionality in a modular way by just bolting it to what we previously purchased. Thank you for that. We'll keep that in mind when it comes to the action item. Any further public comment? Hearing none, we are now at item 11, the consent agenda. The consent agenda, ladies and gentlemen, includes items 6C, D, E, F, G, L, and N. Is that not correct?
Correct.
C, D, E, F, G, L, and N. Are there any changes to the consent agenda as agreed prior? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
So moved.
Moved by Ruby. Is there a second? Seconded by Paul. All in favor of the consent agenda as listed, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. No one in opposition. Any abstentions? None, and one is excused. Okay, we are now at item 12, which is action on discussion items. Item 12A is the presentation of the Danbury warrant article regarding withdrawal from NASD. Okay, it's apparent to me anyway, and perhaps others, but I'll open this for discussion once again. I would entertain a motion to establish a committee for purposes of compliance with RSA 195-25, I think it was. And if we could do so in an expeditious manner, I'd appreciate it. And then we'll open it for discussion if there's a second.
So moved.
Okay, Sue moves to establish a committee to comply with RSA 195-25.
Second.
Seconded by Paul. Okay, is there discussion? Okay, I think it's pretty obvious that what we've talked about this evening early on, almost for 2 hours, I might add, is something that we're going to have to get into, and if the board can authorize the establishment of the committee, I would work with the administration to send out notices to each of the 7 town select boards to appoint a member and perhaps an alternate in the event that that select board's member cannot attend any of the meetings that then get scheduled. We will attempt to pick a neutral date to get together as soon as possible. We will consider some of the stuff that we talked about with Barrett getting answers on by Wednesday, and hopefully we can convey that in any correspondence or emails that will go to the select boards. Do we know if there was someone not here from a select board this evening?
I don't know who's on the respective board. I mean, I've got the name tags.
Okay, I'm just wondering if there were 7 towns present in one form or another.
We had 2 from Alexandria.
Okay, Alexandria was here, Hebron was here, Bristol was here,
Yep,
Bridgewater was
Groton.
here, Danbury was here, Groton was here.
New Hampton was here.
And New Hampton's here. Okay, so all 7 towns.
I don't know if this New Hampton person was on the board. Dr. Valerie Fraser?
Yes.
New Hampton's TA was here too.
Yeah.
I saw Barbara here.
And Neil, you're on the board.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I apologize.
If I come to your meetings, will you call on me as frequently as I did you?
Absolutely. As long as you make a motion to adjourn.
We have a built-in
I'm going to educate you on
adjourner.
this one. Table, motion, table, motion to adjourn.
All right, well, the motion's before us to comply with it and establish a committee. Is there further discussion or any recommendations? Okay, hearing none, the motion before us is to comply and establish a committee with RSA 195-25. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the vote is 6-0, with 1 excused. Hebron. That's an action item that I will undertake with Dr. McCormick and appropriate individuals. Next item is 12E, the school board committee assignments, and the sign off on policy BBF-E. Okay, just to reiterate, I would entertain a motion to approve the committee assignments. Thank you, Mimi. appreciate your staying with us. That are as follows. Football field oversight consists of myself and Paul Reinhardt. School Board Policy Committee consists of Ruby, Sue, and Jeff. Data Task Force consists of myself and Don Franklin. School Board Delegate is myself. Legislative Representative is Jeff. The Budget Committee Rep is Paul Reinhardt. And by way of councils, we have Community Relations and Communications Council, myself and Jeff. The Curriculum Instruction and Assessment is Sue. Professional Development is Ruby. Technology is Jeff. And Wellness is now Don Franklin. So, is there a motion to approve? All right, let me find that. Motion made by Paul to approve the committee assignments as noted. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ruby. Mr. Belbin, I note that you have not selected an option.
I took the senior citizen way out.
I just wondered.
That's why I asked you about the financial on the facility side, not that was.
Okay. Motion to approve as attached, I guess I'll say. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the vote is 6-0, no abstentions, one excused. Just bear with me a second, I'm keeping up with the administrative follow-up here. Okay, item 12C was personnel recommendations, resignations, which we took up as a consent item. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Approved you, that whole page is consent.
All right. Did we do election of professional staff?
Consent.
It was
Consent?
consent, okay. Okay, Jeff, sorry about that.
Whatever.
The tuition policy information was
That
consent.
entire page was consent, C through G.
Right through here, okay. Thanks for watching. 12H was the results of the election result. We take no action on that. 12J, school board evaluation results.
We're gonna retable that and review it.
Yes, is there a motion to table for later review?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Paul,
Second.
seconded by Ruby. Any discussion? Okay, the motion before you is to table for later review. That would require a motion to take it from the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries 6-0. No abstentions, one absent, that being Hebron. Okay, item 12K. Is there a motion to table the approval of this scheduled dates?
So moved.
Moved by Ruby,
Second.
seconded by Jeff. Okay. Is the motion to table for a specific date so that Dr. McCormick can get back to us?
Yes.
Okay, and that date would be?
Confirmed dates.
Motion to table until meeting of April 29th. Is that okay, Dr. McCormick?
Yes.
special meeting. So we'll have to create that agenda to include that item as well. Okay, we're now at 12L, which was a consent agenda approval of the field trips. And then 12M. This was not on the consent agenda. We discussed the addition of a $13,000 add-on to go to a 30-year warranty. Is there a motion on the floor? What's the pleasure of the
I
board?
would make a motion that we instruct Dan to proceed with a 30-year roof.
I second.
Okay, motion made by Paul and seconded by Ruby, which reads as follows. Move to instruct Dan to pursue 30-year warranty option. Dan Rossner, business admin, 30-year warranty option. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the vote is 6-0-0 with no abstentions, 1 absent, that being Hebron. Okay, surplus was a consent item.
Yeah.
Okay, now we are on page 8. Under other business, we have 2 items. One of which was the reading of the Alert Now message by Dr. McCormick that was done or used on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2013, regarding, what do we call that, Phil?
The drug search.
The drug search.
Lockdown / drug search.
Lockdown / drug search.
There isn't really no action required on that.
That is correct. As far as that other business goes, there was really no action required. Thank you for elaborating on that, Dr. McCormick. That brings us now to item 6Z2. Dan spoke to item number 10 on his monthly report to increase surveillance capacity at a cost of $60,000. Funds appear to be available in anticipation of a fund balance at present of approximately $400,000. What is the board's pleasure on this matter?
I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure how to
Neither am I.
make a motion, right? Because I just don't know how much you're really going to gain from audio.
Well, how do we want to handle this?
I don't think you can legally do it, I really don't.
Right.
Mhm.
So then what do you gain if somebody challenges it and sues you? So that's what I mean. So I think the video is sufficient.
We don't have a
Ken?
price in the video either, do we?
Well,
Well, we have a $60,000.
there was a public suggestion made that I thought had some merit to investigate the feasibility of modularity, right, Dan? And I think we talked about taking this up as a business item at our special meeting on April 29th. So I don't want to find out that we spent $60,000 and then for another 10 could have added audio. And for whatever reason that Winnisquam's doing it, we can get away with it as well. Or get by with it. Maybe that's the wrong phraseology.
I will say that Winnisquam has a history of being sued.
Puts it in perspective.
Didn't know that. Well, that's another piece of information. Interesting.
Well, I think Dan wanted to table it until he could give us his full report anyways.
Yeah, I think
So what do we do?
perhaps the wisest thing to do would be maybe to put a date certain on having the physical report and/or recommendations in place based on the discussions.
Come back to your next meeting with additional information, with the full information I had, plus some additional information.
Okay.
Yes.
I got it.
Okay.
All right. So with that in mind, I think Paul made a motion to table this.
I did.
Is there
You say they got this over to Meredith?
Yes.
All those in favor of tabling the motion to a date certain on April 29th, please signify by saying aye.
See what.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, how did you vote, Mr. Belvin?
What was the
I
motion?
didn't vote either.
I didn't vote yet, I'm still discussing the motions.
There's no
We're going through the
discussion,
motions.
there's no discussion on a motion to table.
I'm concerned that this special meeting is going to be a regular board meeting and that we're going to have a large population of people here to hear the special meeting and not all this other stuff. I'm concerned that we're tabling an awful lot for that date that doesn't necessarily.
Well, there's only 2 items
have to be done.
specifically.
Yeah, some of them are tabled for longer.
Excuse me, Will.
Yes,
Paul made the motion, who seconded that?
To table?
Second to table?
Lloyd,
Lloyd did. Thank you.
Camouflaged it.
It's only 11 o'clock, what the heck?
way past it. About 3 hours past Lloyd's
Well,
bedtime.
you missed your chance.
all right, so we'll say Lloyd did in fact second that, which I think I neglected to get. Thank you, Leah, keeping me.
That was the discussion, he was contemplating whether or not to second.
Yeah, I know, if he would follow the rules, it would help, but,
You're just getting.
yeah, that's the discussion you were having, wasn't it, about
We're gonna
considering
just try
whether
to
you
get some of
should
the board
table
members to
this.
go over there and see what they're talking
So
about.
how did you vote?
He voted to table it.
Okay, so you voted in favor.
Ruby
Ruby
I
didn't
did
vote.
vote.
Put that on your
I
list.
do now. I didn't.
6-0-0 with 1 absent, that being Heber. Okay. I think that now brings us to manifests.
Yes. Now, let's see. Thanks to Paul and I and our new board member, Jeff, we have, and I wasn't even going to ask him to get his feet wet yet on that, but he did. So
And more
I
than a few when
moved.
he dove right in.
Yeah.
Nice to see.
Goodness, that's wonderful, and he promises to do that more, too, so.
And some good questions, too.
Yeah, good, good. So I would like, like to move to approve the manifest for the months of February and March 2013.
Is March double signed? I thought it was just Jeff.
No, I went in the other day and signed.
Can we split those?
Those-
Because I have to abstain from February.
Yes, what, I suppose.
You didn't sign February?
I did not
No,
sign
they were
February.
already, it was, already had 2 signatures, so he went on to March,
Yeah,
which is
keep
the
them on.
best way to go.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
see where you're coming from.
Okay, so move to approve the manifest for February.
So second.
Okay.
All right, let me go slow here.
Um,
I'll get it backwards. Let's get- Okay, I'm gonna do this. See attached. That's the whole purpose of having this. Item 13A. Move to approve February manifests. No anomalies were found or anything of that nature, huh? Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions?
One.
Mr. Groton. Vote is 5-0-1 with 1 absent, that being Hebron as an excused. Okay, is there a motion for 13B, which is to move to approve the March manifests?
So moved.
So,
Moved by Ruby,
You can second.
seconded by Sue.
Just reverse of what we did
Yeah.
last time.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Any abstentions? Vote is 6-0-0 with 1 absent. Hebron. Okay, we are now at item 14 under announcements. Don't forget tomorrow evening, the Wizards game at 7 PM in the high school gym. That sounds like it's going to be an exciting time.
And the Wizard of Oz? No.
Peter
Pan.
Pan, close.
Yeah.
You're a year
Too late.
behind,
Yeah,
Ms.
yeah,
Ms.
I
Hill.
know, I know.
Peter Pan is scheduled for this weekend. Friday night, I believe, is all sold out.
That's when I have my
Oh,
tickets.
wow.
I just want to, for those that don't know, the Peter Pan production this year is quite extensive, including company out of Las Vegas coming in to supervise the flying effects.
Oh, goodness.
It was quite a interesting process for us in terms of insurance and facilities and things like that, but I think it's going to be quite spectacular.
And
Yes.
Steph was here before our meeting, and she said they flew Mary Martin, that company.
Same company, yeah.
Oh.
Flying by foot. We had, just so you're aware, we had, aside from in the insurance work we did with this contractor, we also did some engineering work to make sure the building was well-suited for their installation of equipment.
Wow.
Well, looking at the dress rehearsal, the people coming in and out of the dress rehearsal, it just looks
I know.
There was
fascinating.
138 people in the cast.
Wow.
Amazing.
And they practiced a lot.
The other thing which was mentioned in the reports is that there's some astronomy shows at BES in Bridgewater Hebrew School on April 18th.
Yes.
Sounds kind of cool. I plan to take those in.
Yeah, me too.
Any other announcements, Jeff?
The BES Science Fair is also the 18th.
Yes, Science Fair,
Yes.
BES, and you've talked with Dana about the details on judging.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Migliore, may I?
Yes.
Under announcement?
Go ahead, Phil.
Just to announce that today, Jeanette Shedd, who is an elementary school, well, obviously elementary school teacher in Danbury, she was recognized at a luncheon as her nomination to the New Hampshire Teacher of the Year. The commissioner spoke to the fact that as we look around the room, you see some of New Hampshire's best. It was very, very impressive to see one of our own there amongst that group with the displays of the work that they do for kids. It was very uplifting, and talking with her, the enthusiasm is you can see why she was nominated.
It's constant.
Oh, it is.
Never
Oh,
wavers,
it
yeah.
is. So it was wonderful to have seen that, and just to let you know as a follow-up to the announcement that I made at a previous meeting, that she did get that recognition today, so it was wonderful.
Excellent.